energy come from, and where did the space come from for the matter to expand into, and where did the organization come from, and where did the information come from? There's a whole host of questions that are a whole lot harder for you to answer than in the beginning God. Where's information come from? This universe is not just random molecules circulating around. I mean, it carries information. Just like a book is so much more than ink on a paper, it carries information. And the DNA is more than just chemicals. It's information. So the evolutionist never answers the question, where did this information come from? Where did the energy come from? Where did the matter itself come from? And you gripe about my belief. I believe by faith in the beginning God. I know, I admit I don't understand that. But you believe hundreds of things by faith. You don't even understand that you're believing by faith. You think matter is either eternal or can create itself. Well, that's the two choices. How did matter get here? The world is here. Where did the matter come from? Did it just happen by itself, or is it all just imaginary? We're not really here at all. You're faced with the option of, we're not really here, this is all just our imagination, or it had a beginning, or matter is eternal, which is both of the second two options are in violation of the obvious laws of thermodynamics. Matter doesn't create itself. And everything degrades over time. So either it had a beginning or it didn't. If it had a beginning, then what was before the beginning? I mean, there's so many thousands of things you take by faith. I say in the beginning God, and you say, well, this matter somehow either was always here or created itself. And then this matter somehow became alive. And then this first living thing learned how to reproduce. And then it learned how to make something other than its kind. I mean, even though nobody's ever seen that, nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. Or you mentioned about, the fact that a wolf and a fox and a dog coming from a common ancestor off Noah's Ark in only 4,400 years. For heaven's sake, you believe they came from a rock. I mean, come on. I don't think my theory is that silly at all. So, if my answer to your question is still the same, I believe in the beginning God. I do take that by faith. Here's the major difference that I don't think you're going to understand. I admit mine is a religion. They do not admit theirs is a religion. They want you to think what they believe is science, and all of you should pay for their religion to be taught in this university. And that's the situation we have today, and that's unfortunate. There have always been situations where the majority taught something. I mean, in the Soviet Union 15 years ago, if you stood up and said, hey kids, I don't believe in communism, I think capitalism is a better system, you would be in Siberia if you survived. And here in Emory University, if you stood up in your classroom and said, I don't believe this evolution theory is true, I think it's pretty obvious there must have been a designer to this system, you would be in intellectual Siberia. You would lose your job. It has happened to hundreds of teachers, just simply for standing up and say, look, I think the evidence is here, folks. There must have been a designer. If I asked you to explain how computers came to be, but you cannot use man as your answer, I only want a purely naturalistic explanation for the origin of computers. Purely naturalistic. The answer has to lie within the computer. How did these molecules get together? How did this data get together? How did these plastic molecules come together and the different silicone chips? How did it happen? Your answer has to lie in the computer. I've already eliminated the only obvious answer to the problem at the beginning by my definition. They're trying to eliminate the only logical answer to the question by their definition of science. They want to define science as things that we can observe and test and demonstrate in the natural world. Okay, well then that eliminates both evolution and creation. Both are unobserved. We don't see anything change. We don't see anything created from nothing. Here's the problem. Both creation and evolution are religious. I admit mine's a religion. They don't admit theirs is a religion. And all of us are paying for their religion to be taught in the school system. And I, for one, resent that. So my answer is still the same. God did it.
That's because every photon in the universe, every proton in the universe knows what every other photon and proton is doing at every exact second. Why? It is all quantumly entangled to an interdimensional matrix that we're part of, and our DNA is part of. Oh, we're wonderfully made. I mean, the only reason we can do all of that is we're creating God's image. Here's the problem. Because of the fall, because of what happened, we've been detuned, so to speak. We need to understand what that means. I mean, we were created in the image of God. Now, because of what happened in the garden, because of what Lucifer did, contaminating the human genome, plus our DNA contamination from fallen angels, we don't use much of our brain anymore. We only use like 10% of our brains. And a large portion of our DNA is labeled junk DNA because it hasn't been understood. The scientists are so arrogant. They say, well, we have 90% junk DNA. And it's not because we have 90% junk DNA. It's just they don't understand 90% of the DNA. So they kind of label it junk. So we've got to understand that God didn't create any junk. There's a reason we have an appendix. There's a reason we have all of these different organs in our body. There's a reason that they all work so together, so synergistically. God doesn't make mistakes. The reality is when Lucifer and his followers were cast out of heaven, they've invaded the earth. Okay? Throughout the eons of time, they've been known as the Anunnaki, the Snake Brothers, the Star People, the Demons, the Archons, the Jinn, Baal, Moloch, Asherah, Quetzalcoatl, Serpent Gods, Royal Bloodlines Gods. I mean, all these different terms are the same group of entities that were tossed out of heaven. The same group of entities that have been at war against God for millennia. They're basically different names for the same demonic entities and Lucifer and the fallen angels. These are, again, interdimensional. Back in 323, Constantine basically paganized the Roman Catholic Church, made it a state religion, brought many pagan beliefs into the church. At the same time, they decided the book of Enoch was to be removed. Why would they remove the book of Enoch? Why would they take that out of canonized text? Still in the Ethiopian Bible. Okay? Because it's the kind of stuff that these entities have done throughout time. They operate in the shadows. These people who have been giving themselves over to these entities to do these entities' bidding. This is what the Kabbalah is all about. This is what Little Red String's all about. They can participate with these energy, demonic entities. And by doing so, they're given information or knowledge that things are changed on this planet, which these demons control, in order to facilitate these people becoming very, very wealthy. That's why you have these rock stars who say they sold their soul to the devil. It's like, well, they're just joking. No, they're not. They're not joking. They really have done that. The point thing we have to look at is this. These demons, they don't have any creative imagination, but they can twist and manipulate and destroy God's creation. That's why Lucifer comes to rob, kill, steal, and destroy. These things are deceivers. Satan is their father. He's the father of lies. They create an inversion of the natural order of God. What is up is down. That's why they use upside down crosses and occult symbols. They tell you love is hate, straight is wrong, gay is right. I mean, you have to understand something. Lucifer is here to rob, kill, steal, and destroy. Always understand all of these things on this other side of this veil. They're things that people got to take drugs to look at, so they see these things. They're not created in God's image, you are. And that makes them jealous of you, because they don't have a soul like you do. They don't have the ability to create a thought like you do. So they want to be you. So not only do they hate you and they're jealous of you, they want to be you, but they want you to come into their dimension after you die so they can torment you, just to kind of mess with you for all of eternity, just to prove to you that they can control you when you're dead. You see, God stops all that. That's why there's no fear and death for Christians, because we go directly to God. Because, listen to me for a second, because of the covenant we have with God through Christ, we have like an umbilical tied to God the Father through Jesus. And as soon as we die, we go to be with Him in heaven. They don't get a chance to mess with you or to hurt you or do things to you. I mean, think about it. They want you in their dimension. They want to do things to you. They want to torture you. That's what they want to do. And there's some reasoning for that. Let me give you a little more reason on this stuff here. Let's understand who these are. And that's why these demons and their human followers are obsessed with death. They're basically a death cult. Because death is an inversion of life. Plus, when they sacrifice or sodomize a human or a child, energy is created through light photons that these entities consume. Hence, abortion, pedophilia, human sacrifice, Baal, Moloch worship, sacrifice of children, infants, sacrifice of virgins, young girls before puberty. These Satan worship the followers. It's all about destroying and killing because they're their father's children. Jesus called them out in John. This is the natural order. God's natural order is life and abundance. That's why the Garden of Eden is so wonderful. This is what the demons, but this is why the demons don't care about what they destroy. There's 200 species approximately every single day that are going extinct on this planet. I mean, they're spraying us with chemtrails and Morgellons and poison from the air to the point they're causing so much problems with the planet. They're having massive methane releases, which are just really messing with the doggone ecosystem. Yesterday, I was in Orlando with Austin, and we were driving home, and the sky, we were in the middle of a tropical storm, I mean, it was awful. It's been looking like that every single day. And it never looked like that. We had beautiful blue skies in the morning. Thunder clouds would run in around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They'd go over the beautiful blue skies. That's why we were called the Sunshine State. Now we're the chemtrail state. I mean, everything here is about changing God's order. It's almost as if, here we go, that these entities are terraforming the planet to create a new reality they can live in successfully. Yeah, how about that? Fukushima, GMOs, chemtrails, vaccine, fluoride, trans fats, aspartame, pornography, all of it being pushed through these entities. Anything that debilitates or destroys is their mantra. Just like their father Lucifer comes to rob, kill, steal, and destroy. All of this pollution and destruction of the environment is what it wants because it's the reality it's trying to create. It's at war with the great I Am, and it has been for millennia. Remember, when Lucifer comes to rob, kill, steal, and destroy, he doesn't take prisoners with this thing. He wants to kill everybody. You know, these guys know that. That's why they want to do transhumanism, because they want to be able to hook their minds into a computer and their souls into a computer and allow themselves to live for eternity as a bio-robot. Remember, the great I Am has come to bring life, and that more abundantly. I'm going to say that a couple times on the show today. These people who follow these entities, these psychopaths, in many cases they're bloodlines of the Nephilim, bloodlines of the fallen. They have had their empathy removed. They have no remorse. They have no shame. They have no sympathy. They're pathological liars. They have an aversion to the truth. They're parasites. There's no limit as to what they can do or will try to do because they have no emotional consequence for their actions. So, well, I wouldn't do that. Well, yeah, it's because you have an emotional consequence for your action. They don't care. If they go into Iraq and they kill 500,000 children, I don't know, right? What did she say? Oh, it was worth it. Yeah, it was worth it. 500,000 dead children? What about all the parents? What about all the grandparents? What about the uncles and the aunts and the mothers and the fathers and all these dead children? The emotional consequence! It was well worth it. Well worth 500,000 dead. Let me go. Perfect sentiment. Look at the Babylonian banking system. The Federal Reserve. These people are total parasites. They go into a country. They enslave these people first through fiat money, and then they steal their resources. They have no remorse. They don't care if they take your home or your car. They don't care if they bankrupt you and you gotta live on the street under a bridge. They don't care. They only have greed. And Jesus said the love of money is the root of all evil. He's pointing them out again here. That's who these people are. It's always these same guys. It's always these guys. Let's take a look at the Garden of Eden. Let's use the Garden of Eden and let's use the movie Avatar as a metaphor. You know, God creates a beautiful garden, and Lucifer comes in to destroy, to steal, and kill. Okay? Lucifer wants to change your frequency. Now, you need to listen to me really closely for a second. I'm going to tell you some stuff that I haven't told you before. Lucifer is here to change your frequency to his, to separate you from God, to overload your energy field, to prevent you from seeing the truth and obtaining synchronicity through the Holy Spirit with God and Father, the great I Am, through Jesus Christ. He's here to prevent you from having a resonance match with God the Father through the Holy Spirit, so you can be one with God. The Bible says it this way: a veil has been placed over the hearts and the minds of the unbeliever. It's in 2 Corinthians 4:4. That the God of this age has done this. This is Lucifer. He's done this. Why? Because he doesn't want you to see and believe and know the truth. This veil of energy field prevents the person from seeing the truth. And they forever wander, have no purpose, looking for a purpose and looking for truth, but never finding it. Remember what Pilate said when he was talking to Jesus, and Jesus talks to him, I'm the truth of life. And he says, what is truth? He didn't know what truth was. Pilate was looking for truth. He was wandering. He had no purpose. And this is what you feel before you accept Jesus Christ. You don't have a purpose. You've got this God-shaped void on the inside of you that only God can fill. But then Lucifer comes in with an aversion, and he wants you to believe that he's the void. He can fill that void with him, and he masquerades as an angel of the light, and he has these people accept him, thinking they're going to fill this void, but this creates more chaos and conflict in their lives. And this is why the Satan Church is growing so fast in the United States, because we've created a giant void, because Christianity is so compromised that we've left a giant vacuum that all these other religions are coming in now and filling. Because human beings want to have a relationship with the great I Am. He made us. He's our daddy. He wants to be part of us. He wants us to be with him for all eternity. So we have that yearning deep inside, but we don't know where to look.